when to know if your business is ready for launch. What you don't want to do is like wait for the perfect moment. That's what you don't want to do. You won't hear one of these 5 things say, wait for when everything is perfect and everything is ready, then launch. No, you never want to do that. You never want to wait for things when things is perfect. And don't just strictly rely on friends and family, okay? Do not just strictly rely on that or just your own internal thoughts. Okay, because just because you really love something don't mean other people love it too. Just because your best friends say they love it, maybe they're scared to tell you they don't love it. Who knows? Like, you cannot depend on that. You got to figure out a way to get to a broader source of information that you could take home and say, okay, this is how we're moving. Okay, the demand is there. It is what it is. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the 9% Show. I'm your host, Steven Burton, and here at 9%, we keep everything 100. If I haven't done it, not doing it, or not gonna do it, it will not come out my mouth. So, like we always do on here on the 9%, we always toast to the 9%ers out there, hoping y'all striving to get into the 9% club. All right. And today we are going to talk about when to know if your business is ready for launch, which is obviously one of the most important questions in business. You know, when is it go time? When is it time to get it? I'm going to give you 5 things that I think, you know, that you that should be lined up to know that you're ready to launch, and then also support them with, like, you know, my own experience and my own situation. But I think these 5 things is really going to hit home, and also you know, really I could have expanded this list to like 15. Like, at the end of the day, there's so many different things to know you're ready. I mean, you know, you want to make sure, you've done your research, you got your mentors. Maybe you reach out for some people's opinions. Maybe, it's just a long list of things you should do. Your business plan, set up. There's just so much things that you could do to prepare for your business. But what you really, at the end of the day, what you don't want to do is like wait for the perfect moment. That's what you don't want to do. You won't hear one of these 5 things say, wait for when everything is perfect and everything is ready, then launch. No, you never want to do that. You never want to wait for things when things is perfect, because while you're waiting for things to be perfect, that 1, there'll be never a perfect time to start a business. And then 2, you need to start getting real feedback from real users, from real customers. And then you can kind of, you know, shift and pivot a little bit and make things happen from there. If you wait so long for that perfect moment, you most likely would never start. Okay, so I know so many people that have wonderful ideas, that have started something, and it's just like every time I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, I worked on this a little bit, 2 months went by, 3 months, 6 months, a year went by, and they still working on things. You know, just launch that thing, put it out in the atmosphere. And, one of the things we're going to talk about, it's kind of how to tell if you're going through validation and prototyping and all that type of stuff. But let me not jump ahead too much. So we're going to start this thing with number 1. Okay. Number 1 is, you know that the demand is there. Okay. How do you know the demand is there? Market research. How do you do market research? You know, you can do surveys. You can reach out to your friends and family. Hopefully that's a big enough network. You can just do your research on market size, and if you're getting a brick and mortar, you want to know how many cars are going through the intersection. Like, they have so much data out there just to know that the demand is there for your product. And even in this digital age, you can go to Google Trends. You can look up search terms and how many times people search for a certain search term in your area. There's so much information out there to gather that information, but you just want to make sure that you want to confirm that the demand is there for your product and your service. Okay? Because if it's not, and it's just you that love something, what does it matter that you just love it? You know, if there's not enough people out there that want to buy it and want to buy your product and service, you're pretty much losing before you even get started. So you really want to make sure the demand is there. During that process, you're going to understand who your target audience is. You're going to understand, what their pain points is, and you're going to understand whether your product or your service solves their problem. It solves their pain points. All of that comes into this big dive of just kind of figuring out the demand and your target audience and all that stuff right there. So you really want to start honing that in and feel confident with that. For me, in my situation, let's just say with Perfect Tux, I knew the demand was there because one, I worked in the industry before I started my business. I saw what was going on. Also, I started to research about certain styles that was popular, certain things that competitors of mine that didn't sell. And I was looking up search term things and like, okay, this is real popular, but my competitors don't sell this currently, and things like that. So, you could work in the industry. You could just really be, really know what's going on. I think that's one of the best ways, whether, you work in some type of industry and you really get that hands-on experience and you just really know, and you know little things. Like you might know, for example, even back with me, like, our peak season is not Black Friday. It's not Christmas time. So we're also fashion, we're also retail, but we're not part of that train during that time. So if you know your industry well, you know your market well, and you know where your demand is, you're going to shift to that. Our peak season is in the spring. So everything we do is going to shift to that. But like, you can't find that out after the fact, okay? You want to be as prepared as possible to know all of that stuff up front, okay? So just make sure the demand for your product and service is there. And then don't just strictly rely on friends and family, okay? Do not just strictly rely on that or just your own internal thoughts. Okay, because just because you really love something, don't mean other people love it too. Just because your best friends say they love it, maybe they're scared to tell you they don't love it. Who knows? Like, you cannot depend on that. You got to figure out a way to get to a broader source of information that you could take home and say, okay, this is how we're moving. Okay, the demand is there. It is what it is. All right. Number 2. Okay, you need to validate through prototypes or MVPs. Okay, and what's an MVP, you might be asking? I'm glad you asked. Okay, it's a minimal viable product. And that's pretty much like the simplest form. If you're creating a product, it's like the simplest form of the product that you can really start to get some feedback from your customers. You solve your customer's problem with the smallest thing of it. An example of that would be like, even, let's say you're a baker, okay, and you can make the most elaborate cake and all these layers and layers and layers, and maybe the cost of that cake is something crazy, but maybe all it takes is a little sponge cake, a little thing in a cup, or a little cupcake. And you could test your recipe, and then people just are all dying for your cupcakes. They're dying for your little sponge cake. Then that tells you that, okay, my recipe is killer, and if I make a giant layer cake, it's still gonna be the same recipe. I'm gonna get the same results. So that's one way of thinking of like minimal viable product. Prototyping things, you just really want to gauge the traction. You want to gauge, are people interested in your product or in your offering? Sometimes it might be as simple as, if you're in the digital world, of creating a landing page. Maybe your landing page on your website might say coming soon, but might have a sign up, for more information, enter your email address. And maybe you just start marketing your website or what product or service you're selling through your website. And then you see, lo and behold, like, oh man, I had 100 signups. I got 100 people that sign up. That's traction. That tells you like, okay, I'm onto something here. Like, if I can get that thing started. Or you can try like a crowdfunding source, something like Kickstarter. Like, a lot of times these startups start off in Kickstarter by saying, you know what, I'm gonna release my MVP, I'm gonna release this product, I'm gonna release usually it's products on Kickstarter, but you have people that gets a chance, early adopters that say, oh, okay, I'm gonna pay for this beforehand. I'm gonna be an early investor. I'm gonna say, you're trying to raise $5,000. Once you get to that $5,000, you get the product, you get a signature, you get a handshake, whatever extra things you want to give. But during that Kickstarter process, you get to see, however, if people are interested in what you came up with. It could be, if you've ever been on Kickstarter, sometimes it's just it's a video or a PDF. Like they might have not even developed it yet. They need the funding to develop the product. So things like that really gauge the interest of your potential customer, potential user, having a better website, a better product, or whatever. You just really want to gauge just the interest from your potential customer. That's really what it's about. Once you have that, then that's another key point that you're ready to start. Okay. For me, it was a little different. I would say this was a little different. I didn't necessarily have the product because, but my biggest thing was I was just going to have a wide selection within a certain industry. I was just going to have, different colors, different patterns, things that's hard to find. We were going to sell it and pretty much make the customer service or the shopping experience for formal wear online the best that there's ever been at the time. We really wanted to go. We wasn't reinventing the wheel or nothing like that, but I knew what somebody would look for shopping for formal wear online. And we just made it, we made it easy. We made it simple. And that's how we validated that thing. And then also it was like, for me, like I said in the past, I quit my job cold turkey to start my business. So, and I kind of dived in it before I kind of validated a lot of this stuff. I knew overall what the industry was. I knew overall where the peak seasons was and all that type of stuff. But I pretty much said, I'm going to start, and then I got that traction to start getting that feedback. It kind of leads to also what I said at the beginning of this, is not waiting for a perfect time. If you wait for a perfect time, you'll never get a chance to see if you really got that traction and be able to make adjustments. So that's what kind of happened for my situation. But definitely in essence, you always want to test the waters, see if you validate whatever you're doing, your product and service, and just see, once you get that validation, it's time to go. Okay. The number three thing of when to know if your business is ready to launch is that you have sufficient capital and resources in play. Okay. This should have been number one, but, and I'm talking about do not do yourself a disservice by not being ready financially. Okay. Not being ready credit wise. You need good personal credit to survive in business. Okay. Good personal credit. If you do not have good personal credit, unless you have a lot of money lined up and a lot of money in the bank, I suggest getting that right first. Same way when you're buying a mortgage, buying something like that, you want to get your credit right first, then apply for the loans, whoop to whoop to whoop. There are so many times that for whether it's business credit cards, whether it's lines of credit, whether it's, I don't know what, even terms from your vendors, your credit, your personal credit is always going to matter. Okay. Please make sure that is solid, because you will do yourself a major disservice. And it's not that it's just the fact of you can't get capital. Sometimes you might be able to get capital and your credit isn't that great, where the interest is just really bad. The fees are really bad. And when people forget about just cash flow and how much impact that has on what you do. If you have a really messed up loan, or you have, I'll link to the video here when I talked about when I thought I was going out of business. But one of the pieces of that was when everything was going bad, I got a horrible loan that was due. It had daily payments, had a high interest rate. It was just crazy. And that alone almost killed me right there. So you really want to make sure your credit is straight. You really want to make sure you have enough money lined up for initial expenses, your startup capital. You don't want to be figuring this stuff out after the fact, okay? If you don't have the money to do it, just wait, save, do some more research, do some more planning. I mean, it kind of depends on your industry. It kind of depends on what type of business you're starting. If it's e-commerce, it doesn't take too much startup capital to do that. You could start a website and ease into it and slowly, build that traction, build that validation and kind of go from there. But, if it's a brick and mortar, a restaurant, franchise, anything that takes some more capital up front, you really want to make sure your capital is in a secure place. And you also want to make sure a good rule of thumb is to have 3 to 6 months of business expenses saved up. You want to give yourself that runway. I talk about runway all the time. Pretty much how much time you're giving yourself until it's all bad and you run out of money. Because once you run out of money, it is officially over. Okay. And so yes, you definitely want to make sure all of your credit and your resources and your capital is all lined up before you start it. A big thing for me when I started the business was, I had business credit cards lined up. My credit was perfect. And I took, we'll also link to another video of when I described how I started the business with minimal funds. But I pretty much was able to have access to a lot of capital that created my runway, which gave me an opportunity to start the business and survive for a few months before, I was out of the ball game. But you really want to just have that stuff lined up, whether it's a 401k, no matter what it is. It's really having your funds in order. Okay. We are now going to go to number 4, and I'm going to take a little drink real quick because my throat is parched. Okay. Number 4 is that you understand how to reach your target audience. I think this is one topic that really gets overlooked. A lot of people try to find out how to find that audience once they realize, the demand is there. People want my product. My MVP is great. Oh, I have much money and capital. We're ready to start. Let's start. Yes, you can do that. You're probably good enough to start. But I'm telling you, if you want to be really efficient and give your business the best starting chance, during your planning stages, you need to make sure that you can reach your target audience. If you're in the digital space, online, it is very hard to rank organically on Google or in search engines, but mainly Google is the number 1 search engine. But it's hard to rank Google organically. How do you reach your customer? Can you do it through purely social media posts when you just have friends and family that follow you? Do you have the ability to grow your social media posts? How do they shop? Can you do ads? Do you know how to monetize ads? Do you know how to make them profitable? How can you reach them? Is what you're selling a product that on Facebook or Google, they have an interest for, a category for interest in? If it's a category that there is no interest in, or you can't target, it's going to be hard to do certain type of ads to target that perfect customer. If you can't do that and you have to do it the old fashioned way and get out on the streets, how do you find them? Really think backwards and understand you have a marketing strategy and a way to reach your target audience. If you do not, and you find that it's really hard for your product or service to find that perfect person, I highly suggest that you pivot a little bit. You shift a little bit. You don't have to do this. I just give the advice to give your business the greatest success. Okay. If it's hard to find your target audience, hard to market to them, they don't have a category that you could target, on Facebook or Google ads or TikTok or whatever the case may be. Because the truth of the matter is, over recent years, they've pushed back on a whole lot of way you can target users. Because of privacy concerns, because of people taking advantage of the situation, they really limited things. For example, real estate agents used to be able to use Facebook and say, okay, show me everybody that's got a high net worth and then maybe a demographic or something like that. But then people start abusing the situation. There's federal laws on the book that says you can't discriminate. So people were using it in a bad way to say, okay, well, I don't only want to target Caucasians. I only want to target whatever the case may be. So it just created problems. So again, if you're in the real estate field and you realize you can't target certain things a certain way, how are you gonna? What is your strategy there? How are you gonna target it? So I just since everything is so digital driven and online is such a key piece of anybody's, even if you don't have an e-commerce store, it's such a key piece to your marketing strategy. You have to really take account that you can get to your audience online? And if not online, how can you do it in a physical space? Okay. The number 5 thing we're going to talk about is your personal readiness and commitment. It should go without saying, but there are so many people that start stuff and they just ain't got the energy to see it through, especially when you're like things aren't going well. Maybe you ain't getting them sales. Maybe things sucks for the first month or two. Can you see yourself through it? Are you really ready to be an entrepreneur? Can you handle the mental stress of it? Like all of these things, you just need to make sure that you are personally prepared for it. Is your home situation straight? Is your family situation straight? Are you ready to dive into this? And I personally believe that for a business to be successful or really to reach for sky's the limit, you have to dive all the way in. You have to give 100%. Notice I didn't say 110%. Some people say that, but I personally believe that you can only give 100% because that's all you got to give. I mean, you can say that all you want, but it is what it is. If you're working your 9 to 5 and you're working that for 50% of your time up, you only got 50% more to give. Okay, you can say 100 all you want to say, but all you got is 50% to give, and you're giving 50% effort. You need to give 100% effort to your business, to your new venture, to really give it its best shot. And even if everything ain't perfect and it starts off as a side hustle, that's okay. But you just need to give that effort and just be ready to make things happen from that standpoint. Okay. So that's what we got here. It's real simple about when you know if your business is ready to launch. Hope these things hit for you. Please, please, please. Remember, like, subscribe, comment below. We'll definitely reach out to you. I'll reach out to you. Thank you for the support. And until next time, I'll see you on the 9%. Peace.